Natasha, probably nobody hates the metaverse narrative more than I do, but I got to take the other side on this just because that's the kind of guy I am. Isn't there the chance that people are underestimating even a fading digital advertising duopoly, and there is a price that makes sense for Facebook here? Maybe things aren't as bad as they tried to make it sound on the earnings call.
Well, I mean, I think the real problem with Meta and Facebook's pivot to the metaverse really is it is what you said. It's Meta falling on its own sword. It's Facebook's own fault. It's so poorly managed, its social impact and governance, that investors are questioning its social license to operate in emerging technology like the metaverse. And we've seen antitrust litigation, we've seen whistleblower testimony, we've seen congressional hearings, and the problem with that, and this is the big one, is that it's going to be harder for Meta to buy growth, like it did with Instagram, like it did with WhatsApp, because of antitrust scrutiny. So if it wants to buy Roblox, for instance, it's not going to be able to do that. And so they're going to have to spend a ton of money to develop the metaverse internally. And that was $10 billion last year, and more to come.
Yes. Granted, the metaverse is a longer way out than a lot of people might hope, but doesn't Meta still have billions, 3 billion plus, highly engaged users by industry standards, and therefore it's able to learn pretty quickly? There's a floor on how much these IDFA issues are going to hurt them. They gave a $10 billion revenue headwind. I don't know, maybe that's aggressive. At a certain point, might they not tweak their software and come back and say to investors, actually, we figured this out. It's not as bad as we thought it was going to be?
I think it's going to be difficult to do this internally for Facebook or for Meta, to build the metaverse without being able to buy it. What we've seen, I mean, we see just, the sheer size of Meta is a problem in its own right. It's on the upside, it's on the downside. We saw last Thursday, the larger they are, the harder they fall. It was the largest market cap fall in history, $232 billion. The stock's down again this morning. That largeness is also a problem on the upside. How do you grow users when you've so fully saturated the market? Younger customers are turning away from Facebook and other platforms. So, Meta has no clear place to go other than the metaverse. It's not substantive at this point. It's not profitable. It's that spending that led to the negative earnings growth. And, we question whether Facebook is able to do it internally. It's trying to compete with TikTok, with Reels. It's cannibalizing its Instagram business. It's not, it's maturing. It's not adapting like it needs to. So I think there's some challenges ahead.
Yeah, and the key thing, Natasha, is that we are talking about competition, which is what Meta would probably like us to do. And it gets back to the same question that I asked Lo Tony earlier in this program, is that from an antitrust point of view, does the scrutiny shift from perhaps a Meta, which clearly has a lot of competition, to, say, an Alphabet, which has only been made stronger through this move and is also dealing with misinformation issues on the YouTube side that perhaps aren't as looked at as greatly as regulators have for Facebook and Instagram?
Yeah, I think all these big social media companies are going to face a challenge with the metaverse. I will single out Facebook as the worst performer in this area. And we've been engaging with companies on these issues for the last 5 years, whether it's Google or Twitter or Facebook now Meta. And, what we saw with Meta after the whistleblower testimony is that, they changed their name a week later. That's not business strategy, that's a distraction. And there are reasons to be concerned. The same issues Facebook is reckoning with on social media: discrimination, human and civil rights violations, inciting violence. Those all could be worse in the metaverse. And it's not just for Facebook, it's for everybody, as you say. But because Facebook has done such a poor job managing its platform, we really do question their social license to operate. And we've actually filed a shareholder proposal calling for an independent study of potential harms from the metaverse. And that's whether it's psychological or human and civil rights harms. And we're asking shareholders to weigh in on whether Meta is able to prevent those harms or if they're throwing good money after bad, because that's an open question at this point.